Well, this is Tech Boy here again, and since we did a rear brake video, I figured we'd do a front brake video here as well. This is more of like just a standard brake job, but at least it'll be specific to the StarQuest. So I've done kind of the same thing I did last time. I've already got the brake removed. It's pretty simple to get your front brake off. I just crimped off the line right here, and I used a 17 to remove the brake cable or the brake fluid line, and then there's two 17 bolts on the brake as well, and then the whole entire caliper assembly just comes off of the car. So let's head over to the bench and let's rebuild. Okay, so here we are over at the bench. Here's our entire front brake caliper assembly. There it is. Like the other one, you know, like the rears, I kind of spruced them up a little bit when I restored the car, but I never actually fully rebuilt them. So the first thing we want to do is take out the caliper guide pins right here. I broke these already, so they should just back out. I can tell the one of these is pretty dry. So let's get these out. That should just slide apart. You can see there's very little grease on there, so it's dried out over time. So we'll get those lubed up and everything when we put it back together. Yeah, this is the one that seemed to be a bit loose or a bit dried out. And I was breaking it, so this one's not happy. And hence the reason it's good to check into how your brakes are doing, especially when you have a car that is kind of more of a car show car and just kind of tends to sit, doesn't get used daily. This kind of stuff happens even if you do the best job, you know, when you're restoring. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. We got both of those pins out now. And they kind of seem like they're in decent shape. They're not like pitted or anything, so we'll just have to lube them up really good when they go back in. Here's our bracket. Luckily didn't tear the rubber boot or anything when I was trying to twist that out. So again, we'll just make sure everything's lubed up real well and it's actually sliding when we put it back together. So we're going to set this stuff off to the side. We don't really need the bracket pins right now. What we want to worry about is the actual caliper. So you can see right here, there is our dust boot right around the outside, and there is our cylinder right there. So the first thing we're going to do is get a little air over here, and we're going to punch this out. You've probably seen this done before, or you know how to do it if you've rebuilt brakes. So we're going to find out real quick if this is the one that's been causing me what I think has been some brake problems. So I've got two pieces of 3/4 inch plywood here, and I'm going to stack them inside of here just like this. Got my compressed air ready to go. Definitely keep your finger out of the way when you do this. There we go. I heard it pop. So now I'm going to take this 3/4 inch piece out right here and repeat the process. There we go. Got our cylinder all the way out. So you should be able to remove that at this point. There's our cylinder right there. Again, looks like it's got a little bit of stuff on it. Here, a little discoloration and whatnot, but it seems to be in pretty good overall shape. It's not like all corroded or pitted or anything. And there's the inside of our brake. See, we got some juices inside of there, so I'm going to stuff this rag inside of here to suck up that brake dust or the brake fluid. And we'll get a new rag in a minute. We can just tear this boot right out. There's no nice thing about this is there's no like circlip or wire band or anything. On this one, it just has like an edge that sits right in a groove that's around the inside here, and that's all that's to it. So it's pretty simple that way. All right, so now that we have got the cylinder out, the next thing we're going to do is take the pick here, and we are going to get the seal out right there. That was no problem. Pop that out. That's our old seal. And then we're just going to take a couple of minutes and clean up this cylinder. Or I guess not really the cylinder, kind of the housing inside here. So spray a little brake clean in there. Make sure everything's nice and clean. There's no junk or debris or any rubber bits or anything like that floating around. It looks pretty good. I'm going to take a little bit of compressed air in a second. We'll blow this out in here. There we go. That's looking pretty inside of there, which is what we want. So we're already ready to well, actually, I guess before we rebuild, we'll clean up this cylinder here, just polish that up a little bit with the Dremel. Okay, so I did do one thing off camera here. There was a bit of gunk kind of around this lip, and I've got a grinder on the other side of the shop. So I took the cylinder over there and just very carefully ground around the outside here. You don't want to obviously get on the, you know, the polished surface here, but I just kind of went around that lip there, got some of that junk and corrosion off, and then there was a little bit of junk in the inside here as well. You don't have to worry about the inside like too much, it really doesn't matter, but there was just some collected rust flakes and things in there, so I kind of cleaned up the inside of that a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I got my Dremel here, and I've got the soft just fabric cloth on here, and we're just going to kind of go over this and give that a little polish. Clean it up real nice. Make sure it's all nice and shiny and good to go. There we go. That piston looks real good now around the outside. Nice and clean, nice and smooth. So we are ready to rebuild. So the first thing we're going to do is put the seal right inside of there. So the front brake rebuild kit that I bought is this one here. It's the Asbestos, and there's the part number WK1458 for anybody that might need to get that. Not a whole lot to the kit. When you open it up, on the inside you're just getting the seal, the new boot, and you're getting the bleeder cap, which I was actually missing, so I'm glad to have that. So let's take the seal and start by popping that right inside here. This is usually pretty easy to do. There it is. We're going to take a little bit of brake fluid, we did in the other video, and we're just going to lube up that seal real nice there, so that when we push the piston back in, it's got a little bit of lubrication. It doesn't tear gasket or cut anything with a piece of debris or anything like that. All right, next thing we're going to do is take our piston, which is going to go back in that way, and we're going to take the outside of this and just stretch it over. Oh, popped off there. Stretch it over that lip just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of it and we're going to kind of stretch it down something like that. And then we're going to get that inside of there, and we're going to move over to the vise for that. So I'll stop the video, get set up, and then show you how I do that. Okay, so here we go. I've tried to orient everything here so that you can see it. So here's what we did. We slid that boot over the dust shield, dust boot, whatever you want to call it, over the top of the cylinder here. And you can see I've pulled it all the way down so it's kind of flush with the bottom. And what we're going to do is go just a little bit further now so that it's hanging off the piston. We don't want to slide it all the way down. We want to leave that top lip just kind of on the bottom, something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we're going to set it back in the brake here, or in the caliper, and we're just going to kind of try to fish that edge, seat it in, oops, all the way around. And it looks like I kind of have it, I think. We'll find out when we tap this in. So last time I did the other front brake, I took this little piece of wood and I just put a little arc on it right there so that it would just kind of sit. So I'm just going to take the piston, and I can just feel it as I'm sliding it down with my fingers starting to hit that seal. So I'm going to put that in there just like that. And I'm going to take a big socket and rubber mallet here, plastic hammer, and just lightly tap this back in. It's going to get to a point here where that dust boot is going to kind of seal around the edge there, which is what we want. A little bit more. I think maybe just another tap or two. Go. So now we can see, at least I hope you can see here, that the seal, the dust boot is around the edge there on all the sides, and it's in the little groove on the front brake, and that's really all that's to rebuilding a StarQuest front brake. It's actually pretty easy. So now we're going to lube up those guides and put it all back together, get it ready to go back in the car. So I said to you guys before that when I backed this one out right over here that was like really tough, it didn't tear the boot. But when I was looking at it off camera here a second ago, I don't know how well you can see there, but it actually twisted the boot down inside and tore it. So I'm going to have to take a look. If you're a true StarQuester, like a lot of us are, you probably have a bunch of extra parts lying around. I don't know if I have a bunch of extra brake parts, but I'm not sure if I have one of those or not. I know I have some extra glide pins, so I might have to order one of these up, but we might have to finish this video up after the delivery comes. But I'm going to check that out, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I wasn't planning on doing this, but here is my secret stash of brake parts. You can see I've got a whole entire other set of front and back calipers in here that I'll rebuild someday. And I've got, hopefully rebuild someday, I've got extra set of pads. I've got, I'm pretty sure these are the pins, spare pins that I was talking about. Guides, yep, so maybe we'll use a set of them on here. There's an extra rear brake rebuild kit. I got extra brackets, and oh, this might be, I didn't think I had any of these. This might be what we're looking for right here. Hey, look at that. I actually had a set. I didn't think I did. I guess we're in business. We'll be able to get this back together after all. Woohoo! Alright, well, rebuilding the bracket wasn't going to be part of this video, but it is now. So, here we go. Here's what I'm going to do. Pulled out that box there and opened up one of these new sleeves. So, since this one is damaged already, I think what I'm going to do is just get a razor blade and we're going to cut the top of that off and just push it out. So, here we go. Let's just take a razor, cut that off. Like so. Cut off the little cap, bracket fell out. And then you should be able to push this back out. I don't know, it grabbed onto my screwdriver. I was definitely feeling some sort of dragging in my brakes, which I mentioned in the rear brake video, so I'm thinking that this might have been the culprit all along. So we're going to clean that out in there real good before we slide the new one in. But there it is. That thing's, I thought I replaced these when I restored the car, and I might have, but it definitely is dried out and dead and no good. So let's clean that up and get the new one in there. Alright, so what I did, since I could see there was a bunch of junk down inside of here and that was going to prevent that boot from sliding in real nice, was I just got my drill out and found a drill bit that was a little bit smaller than that. And you can see right here all the rust and debris that came out. I just kind of ran this in here. Just to clean that up a little bit in there. I'm going to set this off to the side. And we'll spray a little bit of brake clean down in here as well. Just to clean that up. Then I think I'm going to grab a little bit of WD-40 and run that down there as well before I attempt to slide this in. That way it goes in real easy and we don't have a problem tearing it. Okay, so now that I've got the inside of this cylinder cleaned up real well, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take our new boot here. I'm just going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on this thing just to give it a little bit of lube. And we're going to get that kind of started right there. And then I tried a punch, but I didn't have a punch that was long enough, so I've got this round file that's got a blunt end here. I don't want to use a screwdriver because I obviously don't want to puncture this thing, but we're just going to slide that right in there, just like that. And you can see it popped out the other side. And we are back in business, my friends. Ready to go. Glad I didn't have to wait a week or a couple of days, whatever, for a new one of those to show up. All right. We're moving forward again. Okay, so now that we've got this new guide boot in here, we're going to take a little bit of brake lubricant here, and we're just going to put a little bit of that in here and in here. You want to get a good coat of this stuff on the inside here, but you also don't want to like fill these things so much. I've seen it already where people have like just about packed these things out with grease, and then you go to put the pin in and there's just no room, and it actually blows open the little cap here at the end and tears it, which kind of destroys it, and then you're done. So you want to, you want to use it. You don't want them to be dry, but you also don't want it to be like so overly done that it causes a problem. So I guess what I'm trying to say is not too much, not too little. There we go. Make sure that slides real nice on there. And then, yeah, and you can see I decided to use the new pins. Figure we got it all apart. We're making things fresh and new. Let's just go new. There's the new one. That one slides real nice. All right. So at this point, we are ready to put things back together here. Okay, so what I just did off camera here was I just loaded my clips back in here. Oh, it's coming off. So I got my 4 clips reinstalled in here, and all I'm going to do now is just load my pads back in here like so. And I just kicked out one of my clips there and here. Slide them in like that. And then, of course, the next thing to do is to mount the caliper, which you guys all know. Mount this back on here and slide these through. I am not going to do that because what I want to do is actually mount the bracket on the car first, and then I'm going to put the brake line back on the caliper, and then I'll slide the pins back in first. But this is our fully rebuilt caliper here, our front brake caliper. At this point, with everything's new in here, all ready to go. So, like I said in the last video, I hope that helps a few of you out. Pretty simple, basic brake job. Any comments, any questions, let me know. I'm always here to help you guys.